welcome to this August edition of Cricket Monthly, and congratulations on finding us back in this early afternoon slot. With a month to go of the season and English cricket apparently rampant, we have much to review and plenty to look forward to. To assist me in the task, I'm joined in the studio by two men who should know what they're talking about: England's Chairman of Selectors, David Graveney, and former South African batsman, Barry Richards. Now let's see what we're going to be talking about. Fresh from their triumph over South Africa, England now need to see off the one-day kings, Sri Lanka. After nearly half a century in occupation at the county ground at Canterbury, the Cowdrey family is finally moving out. England has a fine wicket-keeping tradition. Alec Stewart has his hands in the gloves for now, but who's next in line? Sir Don Bradman is 90 tomorrow, and we remember arguably the greatest touring side of all time, his 1948 Australians. This season's tourists, the South Africans, were involved in one of the most dramatic series in England for many years. Fortunes fluctuated wildly throughout the summer, and the outcome remained uncertain right until the final moments. Steve May now tells the story of a great England fight-back.
A new international season, and for England a new captain. Alec Stewart taking over from Mike Atherton, but it was Atherton who took the early honours. He and Mark Butcher, who made 77, put on 179 for the first wicket. All looked well. Atherton's century came up just before the end of day one.
The first Test match since resigning the captaincy, and he celebrates with his 12th Test match 100.
But day two saw the fit again Darren Gough break a finger, which put England's quickest bowler out for this and the next test. Still, the returning Dominic Cork cushioned the blow with a return of 5 for 93 in South Africa's only innings. On to Lord's, the traditional bogey ground for England, and it was to prove just so once again, even though Cork reduced South Africa to 46 for 4. It was an old adversary that steered the match South Africa's way. Jonty Rhodes, supported by Hansie Cronje, put on a new fifth-wicket stand for South Africa against England. Rhodes made 117 off 200 balls and then left it to the Court Boucher, Bold Donald show. Five Court Boucher, Bold Donalds meant that England were forced to follow on, 250 behind. Only Nasser Hussain with 105 meant that defeat by an innings was averted. And so to Old Trafford, despite a draw, a match which was to prove as significant a test as any. Alec Stewart lost the toss, and from then on, his men were always on the back foot. Jacques Kallis was on the back foot and the front foot on that opening day, helping himself to a century. He put on 238 with opener Gary Kirsten, who scored a double century, the first by a South African since their readmission to Test cricket. Then a familiar story to England's batting. South Africa were without Pollock, but England discovered that Kallis was no slouch with the ball. His efforts would win him the Man of the Match award. And more ominously, the debate over poor umpiring began. Mark Ramprakash, the unlucky recipient here. England were following on again. Stewart made 164, but then after a collapse, they were rescued by the batting heroics of Croft and Fraser. Fraser blocking Arnold Donald's last over, much to Stewart's pleasure. Robert Croft saw off the last ball with the scores level and England's last two at the crease. A real great escape. Then the fight back at Trent Bridge. Not obvious at first as Hansie Cronje scored his first Test century against England, 126. Mark Butcher with 75 showed he was well worth his early recall after injury, and Mark Ramprakash batted for nearly 4 hours for an unbeaten 67, then left the rest for his Middlesex teammate. With Angus Fraser taking 10 wickets in the match, England were in with a chance. More so when Mike Atherton was adjudged not out off Alan Donald. Donald wasn't happy. Mike Atherton was saying nothing. Even Donald's teammates seemed to be against him.
Another chance. Oh, he's dropped it. Well, that is going to make Alan Donald absolutely livid.
Atherton's unbeaten 98 saw England home and the series was levelled. So to the decider at Headingley, a traditional favourite with England and certainly now for Mark Butcher with his maiden Test century. There was another 5-4 for Angus Fraser. And the catch of the series for Mark Ramprakash. Sean Pollock toiled for 35 overs, taking 5 for 53, giving South Africa a victory target of just 219. England needed wickets quickly, and they got them. Gough and Fraser reduced South Africa to 27 for 5. Rhodes and McMillan got South Africa close, but not close enough, and Gough returned to finish with 6 for 42, his best at Test level.
Congratulations to England, they have won the match and the series.
And the story ended with the two figures who'd begun it, winning captain Alec Stewart and England's man of the series, Mike Atherton.
Well, David, the perfect end to the series for you.
Yeah, Edgbaston seems light years away, doesn't it, really, in terms of the events of the summer, but it was a very close series, and I'm sure Barry would agree that it could have gone either way at the end.
Yeah, one of the things you're obviously very happy with is the captaincy. Alex Stewart, you've just reappointed for a long time, it seems, the winter and through to next summer's World Cup as well.
Yeah, the England selectors are getting quite giddy with their sort of appointing captains for a long period of time. I would say right at the outset, Alec has done a fantastic job as captain, but as we all know, in dressing rooms you need senior players to support you as a leader. And in that respect, the likes of Mike Atherton and Nasser Hussain, the past captain and Nasser, who lost out in the vote, were key figures in creating that atmosphere.
Yeah, I suppose for Michael as well, there's the feeling that the success has been built on the back of the system, really, he set up over the previous 5 years.
Yeah, people have, I think, have been very unfair in saying that, you know, sort of just because it's a new captain, that's why we've won. But Mike has always had great respect for the job as being England captain, brought a lot to the table doing the job, and it was the right time for him to give up. And he's been like an 18-year-old this summer, really enjoying it. As you know, as an England captain yourself, David, the pressures are enormous, and sometimes you just need to get away from it.
Yeah, it's enormous and actually cumulative too, because I think over a period of time, and he was there, what, for 5 years in the job, you could see sort of form tailing off. And in fact, at the start of this summer, there was a worry that he wouldn't pick up his form in time to make the decision to pick him again, a comfortable one.
Well, fortunately, though his form leading into the first test wasn't very good, such as the quality of the guy and the importance of playing for England, that century sort of relieved all the problems. But it's very difficult being England captain in terms of, particularly if the side has been unsuccessful. As you know, again, in your own experience, keep going to press conferences, keep trying to explain why England haven't done very well is a testing task.
It's not easy, but he did play very well this summer. Now, Barry, I suppose the turning point in the series was England's resistance at Old Trafford in that third Test match.
Yeah, probably was, and Sean Pollock not playing didn't help South Africa to wrap it all up. But I think they scored a bit slowly. That was one of the problems why they didn't have enough time. But in the end, they should have won that match. I think it was a really big letdown from them, and from there, they really didn't play at their best from that time. And, you know, it was a wonderful effort. I mean, Alex Stewart played well, and then Robert Croft at the end obviously did a very good job for England. But I think that really gutted South Africa in terms of being able to come back from there.
But you South Africans have a reputation for never saying die, never giving up. I mean, you're always fighting, and that was the key, in fact, to victory in the series when England were down in South Africa last 3 years ago. Yes, I mean, I agree, and perhaps when you're 27 for 5 and then almost come back and win it is probably one of the qualities that South Africa have done so well since their re-emergence. But I think, you know, when you just lose 5% as a team like South Africa, just can't afford to lose 5% because that's what they rely on. So much is one for all and all for one and all that sort of thing, which they do so well. And I think just a drop-off of 5%, just psychologically, I think, for them meant the difference between winning and losing. I mean,
great for England. I think they really did come back. They played well. And Mark Butcher, I think, played very well, and is a real positive in terms of the Ashes. And that was one of the big differences between the two sides, was they always got a start. And Athers and Mark Butcher were very strong mentally and did a great job at the top, blunting Donald and Pollock, whereas South Africa were always in trouble at the top, and that was one of the big differences between the two teams.
But I mean, South Africa are very strong, and obviously the likes of Alan Donald and the bowling attack, Pollock. Jonty Rhodes had a great summer. What are they short of?
I think somebody who Gary Kirsten's role, I think, was one which was crucial to them not doing well. I mean, so much pressure when Liebenberg and then Bacher both were tried, and neither of them could succeed. I think it took away a little bit from Gary Kirsten in terms of playing a natural game. He wasn't sure what role he was supposed to fill. He wasn't confident about playing any shots because he realised if he got out, he was the linchpin. And then for the rest, they really didn't have anybody who could dominate. I mean, Cullinan to a degree can, but he seems to play little cameos without really getting a huge score, which in 5-day cricket doesn't really change the game that much. You know, a 30 will not change the game that much, whereas, you know, 100 or an 80 even, where at the right and appropriate time will change the game. And I think that's something that he's got to look at. They needed somebody. I mean, Rhodes played that role, and so did Cronje, but again, not enough.
England, of course, have one test match left to play this summer, starting tomorrow against Sri Lanka at the Oval. The Sri Lankans, the world champions, are acknowledged as exceptionally fine one-day players, but despite the very obvious talents of the likes of Aravinda de Silva, have yet to achieve the same status in Test cricket. They began the international part of this tour well, beating England in the final of the Emirates Triangular Tournament, and would no doubt be delighted to repeat that success by winning at the Oval. Chris Broad caught up with them this weekend to find out more about the men England will be facing.
Their preparations for this Thursday's test couldn't have happened in a more idyllic place than Southampton against an understrength Hampshire side. They won the toss and asked the home side to bat on a greenish pitch. This gave the local supporters an opportunity to familiarise themselves with England's one-off test opponents. In 1984, when I played against Sri Lanka at Lord's, they had many good individuals. Arjuna Ranatunga was one of them.
It's one for his 50, and there it is. What a very good 50 that has been for Ranatunga.
I still feel that we had a better side when we started playing cricket, but we never had enough exposure or enough experience to play with the top international sides. But now we are having that. But I think the other important factor is we are playing like a team, like all contributing, and a lot of people helping the other seniors, helping the juniors, junior helping the seniors, and it's a really good family sort of team we have.
His vice-captain on tour is Aravinda de Silva, a man who should be known to English supporters as he played for Kent in 1995.
Got hold of that one. That's gone all the way. 6 runs to Aravinda de Silva.
Well, you're someone who are used to the English conditions, having played a season in Kent. Have you been able to pass on any tips to the other members of the squad?
Yeah, definitely. In most of the counties I've played in, I've been able to pass on the tips and on some of the players as well. So all in all, I think as a unit we've been working very hard over the last couple of weeks, especially before the one day has started. And I think everything came right at the end.
Opening the batting for this side will be Sanat Jayasuriya, a player well used to scoring big runs. He shared in a test record stand of 576 with Rohan Mahanama against India in Colombo. His share, 340.
Yeah, that's one of my best innings I have ever played last year against India in Sri Lanka. I got 340, I think, one of the best innings I have ever played.
We're used to seeing you in one-day competitions playing a lot of shots. Do you, when you play a test match, do you change your style?
Not really, because I'm trying to get more risk, less risk and play. Because when you play a test match, it's a different game to a one-day game. I always try a less risk and bat the normal way I used to bat.
Marvin Atapatu is a stylish right-handed stroke maker. We've already seen, after his marvellous 132 not out in the final of the Emirates tournament, just what a devastating performer he can be. Seam bowling is the problem area for the tourists, as Hampshire found out on Saturday. Pramodjo Wickramasinghe played in the one-day series alongside the very promising Suresh Pereira.
We don't have the big talent of fast bowlers, but we have bowlers who can take wickets. That's an important factor. Chamin Dawaz is with us. He's the most experienced fast bowler we have, and he's recovering from injury, and he's about 80% good. I think by the time we play the test match, he will be okay. I think it's a very good plus mark for us if he plays, because he's a very experienced and a talented bowler.
But with 187 victims in just 41 tests, spinner Muttiah Muralitharan is a potential match winner.
Oh, balls. Ali Brown comprehensively beaten by the turn.
Looking at the test match on Thursday, how are you going to approach that game?
So I think as just a test match, I have played about 40 test match, so I know what to do in the middle. I think it will go in my way.
But have you played? England don't have the strongest spinners in the world, so they might be viewing the wicket as more as a seaming wicket. Have you bowled on many seamers wickets?
Yeah, I have bowled in South Africa, Australia, New Zealand. So all wickets sometimes seams, but within day 2, day 3 it spins, and sometimes mostly I need a little bit of bounce in the wicket rather than spin.
Well, the oval pitch is renowned for being one with bouncing, so you're looking forward to the test match.
Yeah, I never bowled in that. Hopefully it will be good bouncy, and I will if I get the turn, I can get some wickets. I hopefully get 5 wickets in the test match.
We never came here to lose, not even a county game.
Cracking shot.
We won the one-day series, and the next aim is the test match.
Oh, good shots.
If we had a very positive side, then why not we can win against England?
England's squad was announced last Sunday, with Ben Hollioake coming back in for Andy Flintoff and John Crawley included as cover for the injured Nasser Hussain. Since then, the plan has changed slightly once the selectors had assessed the oval pitch and Robert Croft has been recalled in place of Alan Mullally. Simon Hughes has been to the Oval and brings us this report of England's preparations.
As people applied the finishing touches to the Oval, England were considering their options for the test, and the general feeling is that Sri Lanka are definitely not just also-rans.
I suppose from our point of view, we've got to say to them, well done, terrific effort, that's in the past, we've now got another test match and it's just a one-off, and we'll need to be on top of our game to play against Sri Lanka.
We want to carry on where we left off at Headingley and ideally have 3 wins on the trot and then go after Australia confident, but we can't take Sri Lanka lightly. They're certainly a very good one-day side. They've also turned over some good sides in Test cricket. We've got to make sure that we're on the ball.
After much trial and error, England have at last found the ideal seam attack in Cork, Gough and Fraser.
We all have different qualities, I suppose. I mean, Godfrey has the pace, Corking can swing the ball, and obviously with myself you've got someone who can put the ball more often than not in the right area, so maybe exploit any conditions where the ball seams around a bit.
Darren Gough's purple patch continues with a floodlit hat-trick for Yorkshire on Tuesday. Wasim Akram was the first victim, acrobatically caught by Gavin Hamilton. Then Warren Hegg was deceived by a cleverly disguised slower delivery. Hamilton again the catcher. Gary Yates faced the hat-trick ball.
We're bowlers and we try and stick together. We talk about the batsmen, and you know I like sunning at mid-off when someone is bowling, and I'll try and gee him up. And the same when I'm bowling, Angus is there and Godfrey's there keeping me going.
I mean, as a bowling side, you bowl as a unit. I mean, you bowl in pairs, you create pressure for each other, and you need it from both ends. And if the bloke at the other end is bowling as well as the bloke at the other end, something's going to go eventually. And all right, some days it might be the likes of myself that pick up wickets. Other days it'll be Corky, other days it'll be Godfrey. So as long as we can bowl as a unit and keep the pressure on the opposition, it bodes well for the future.
From my point of view, I just want to keep saying, yes, there is a nucleus of a team, and as we would say, these seam bowlers that we've had, the quicker bowlers in Gough, Cork and Fraser, have done really well for England. But you don't want anybody resting on the laurels, and you want younger guys champing at the bit to say, yeah, and don't forget me, I can bowl too.
But a groin injury may rule out one of England's permanent batting fixtures, Nasser Hussain.
I'm not doing too much today. Tomorrow I'll have a full run around with Wayne, England physio, and if it's 100% I'll play. If there's any doubt, 5 days, a long time. don't want to let the boys down. I felt I let them down a little bit in the one day by playing and wasn't fully fit, so I won't be doing the same. But if it's 100% tomorrow, you know, I'll play, definitely. I don't want to miss a test match.
This is a huge game for Ian Salisbury, whose future after 2 ordinary tests is on the line.
I've got a lot to prove to myself, obviously a lot to prove to a lot of other people as well. Obviously, when things don't go well, it's quite easy to criticise, and I've had my critics, so it'd be nice at some stage to prove people wrong.
Now, David, injuries. It seems that you're not allowed to keep a winning team. And it also seems you've got more news for us today about injuries, or potential injuries.
Yeah, potential injuries. Mike Atherton's had a bit of a problem with his back, driving all over the country, and Steve James has been brought in.
A chauffeur.
Well, I know you have one, but he hasn't got one.
I wish.
We brought in Steve James more as a precaution. It's not quite the same scenario as Nasser is saying. I would say at this stage is unlikely to play.
OK, now the other big worry, though, apart from selection or apart from the injuries, is the pitch. It seems that over the last couple of days you've looked at this pitch and you're not at all happy about it.
It was a surprise to see the wicket. I think probably is the most diplomatic line I can produce at this stage. As with all wickets, let's see how it plays, but certainly it has a similarity to the wicket that we played on last year, and everybody knows what that did. And certainly, I suppose, if you're starting from a level situation, probably we'd want our seamers to be more involved in their spinners.
When their spinners are their strong hand, Murali is outstanding. I saw a nice quote this morning from Ranjit Fernando, the Sri Lankan tour manager, saying that Murali could turn it on the M4, and apparently he's got a pitch at the Oval which he's going to turn pretty early. Yeah. Against that, it has to be said, you've got 2 spinners, Croft and Salisbury, who between them are yet to take a wicket in Test cricket this summer.
Yeah, in terms of their own domestic form, Ian Salisbury is the most successful bowler. He obviously has played at the Oval, which it had spun, so it was probably no surprise that suddenly this wicket in the middle of the square would have features dissimilar to what the other pitchers had. Robert Croft has had a difficult year, but that's the same as most slow bowlers in this country. So there's a lot of pressure on them, particularly on somebody like Ian Salisbury, and it's important that you know, he can relax as much as possible. The players obviously will get behind him, but probably more important, the crowd are, you know, sympathetic. And in terms of the way that the Headingley crowd reacted, I thought was very sad, really.
And of course, Robert Croft last year missed out when the pitch turned at the Oval, and Tuffers came in and took his 11th. Another man you've brought in back into the squad again, Ben Holyoake. What's the thinking behind that?
Well, I think that, and again, no disparaging remarks in respect of Andrew Flintoff, but I did think that both at Trembridge and at Headingley, the bowling option of the 7th man was probably a little bit on the weak side. So we've gone for the stronger bowler, and certainly Ben, not necessarily because the bowling coaches have suddenly appeared at the Oval in the last month or so, but certainly his form with the ball has been much better. And then sometimes it's more a hunch than just the achievements in a domestic year.
Does it come back to, or come down to Croft versus Holyoake in the end?
I think really we've got to decide until Thursday morning. We are led to believe the wicket will get harder, and we'll see. You know, we've got all the options. We've got we can go in with 3 seamers, 2 spinners, 3 and 1, and an all-rounder. So we've got all the options covered.
Now, Barry, you've been coaching the Sri Lankans, the batsmen especially early in the year. That's their strength, isn't it? The batting and their spin bowling.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they're wonderful players. I'm not so sure they're as good away from home. I mean, the ball does dart around it, but I haven't seen the Oval wicket. But if it spins, then Sri Lanka really do come into the game, because they're not only you know, they're players, good players, but they really are good players of spin bowling. They take them on and they really score quickly or spin bowling. So it'll be a real challenge for the England spinners if it does turn.
This guy Murali I mean, he's outstanding, isn't he?
He's an amazing bowler, and he's got such confidence. I mean, he's obviously not comfortable in sort of media, you know, hype and media interviews, but he really is a tremendous team man, and a very enthusiastic cricketer. And the thing about him is that he keeps coming back at you, keeps coming. I mean, the first couple of overs, even in that one-day final at Lord's, he didn't bowl particularly well, but he came back from the pavilion and got a couple to turn. Ended up getting 5 for 22 in 8 overs, which was a tremendous achievement. So you know, his confidence will be up, and I think, you know, Sri Lanka do rely a lot on him. You know, he's a 50-over man, no trouble at all.
Well, I'm sure David will be hoping he has a bad game. Now, you can, of course, watch all the action from the final test of the season live with us on BBC Television, starting tomorrow on BBC Two at 10:50. Now, tomorrow, as I mentioned at the top of the show, is also the 90th birthday of one of the greatest sporting figures of the 20th century, the incomparable Sir Don Bradman. 50 years ago, on his last visit as a player, he led to these shores an Australian team that many say was the finest touring side of all time. Ralph Dellor looks back.
Don Bradman was captain of the 1948 Australians and even in those days was at the mercy of the media before he'd actually set foot on English soil.
You've been here 3 times before. How does this team compare with the other teams you've been with?
It's difficult to say, but I think that it compares very favourably, really.
It does, all round.
So, yes.
Have you got some bowlers to suit the English wickets?
Oh, plenty.
Plenty of this. Oh dear, we shall see something of them.
They certainly would, and if most of the team were known in April, they were not yet renowned and feared as they would be by September.
Ray Lindwall of New South Wales. Keith Miller, whom you've seen over here before. Thank you.
Well, you had Keith Miller and Ray Lindwall, the fast attack. Then you had Bill Johnson and Ernie Toshak, who slowed it up. And then by that time, they bowled theirs, but the new ball was due, so on we came with the fast ones again.
Sid Barnes, New South Wales. Arthur Morris, who is a co-selector.
Barnes and Morris were the best opening pair that I ever bowled at. It was the best side I've ever seen, and they had everything.
Trent Bridge was packed for the first test, with England seemingly well equipped for the task in hand, with Hutton and Washbrook to open the innings, which closed in 79 overs for just 165. In reply, Australia exceeded 500, with Bradman scoring 138. He was out for naught in the second innings when Australia only needed 98 to win. But for England wicketkeeper Godfrey Evans, the Don, who was to celebrate his 40th birthday later in the tour, was as good as ever.
He was very quick on his feet. He had very good judgment of the length of the ball, and his concentration was magnificent. Out there in the middle, and he'd been there a little while, and I used to say, how's your wife, Don? He said, well, I'll tell you after I've finished batting. You couldn't get his concentration off him at all. He was fantastic.
To Lords for the second test, and Norman Yardley lost the toss for the only time in the series. But Bradman was a comparative failure with the bat, making only 38 in the first innings before he became one of Alec Bedser's 4 wickets for 100 from 43 quality overs.
The ball was starting outside the off stump, swinging in late. He would obviously play with the swing, and it just went a bit more than perhaps he thought. And it's what it amounted to was a catch on the legs, a slip catch on the leg side. That's what it amounted to.
And for the 3rd time in 3 innings, Bradman is out, caught Hutton, bowled Bedser.
Bedser got him in the second innings as well, but for 89. And even against an attack without the injured Miller, England went meekly for Australia to win by another massive margin. Old Trafford was damp and spiteful, and it took all Dennis Compton's genius and courage to get England into a promising position. He top-edged a ball from Lindwall into his face and was forced to retire hurt, with blood streaming from his forehead. But with no more than a plaster on the wound, Compton came back to remain 145 not out. Australia needed 317 to win when the Manchester rain ended the match, and Australia had retained the Ashes. There were record crowds for the 4th match. 158,000 people crammed into Headingley during the test to see local hero Len Hutton restored to the England side. He did well, but not as well as Cyril Washbrook. He hit 143, while Bill Edrich scored 111 in the first innings. But in Australia's second innings, needing the little matter of 404 to win, a stand of 301 for the second wicket between Arthur Morris with 182 and Bradman with 173 not out, saw Australia reach what is still the highest ever 4th innings target to win a test. When the teams arrived at the Oval, the captains had to find the pitch before they could inspect it. Yardley elected to bat.
England's innings was just a procession back to the pavilion. Hughes, 1, was first to go. He was soon followed by Edrich, 3. Then Compton, 4.
The wicket was very soft, and normally against ordinary pace bowling, a soft wicket, the fast bowlers couldn't do anything. But Lindwall and Miller are a different subject, you see. And